Hello? 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 This is the Vancouver
Commercial
Real Estate Podcast.
And welcome back to the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Cory Wright.
And I'm your other host, sometimes host, Adam Scalina. How you doing, Cory?
Good yourself. So I think we got to address the pink elephant in the room here.
What
is last? I got a funny story.
That's
about
my
Matt.
nickname for Matt.
I got a funny
Pink
story.
elephant.
I got a funny story about Matt. Last week we didn't have an episode, and let's just call a spade a spade.
You were MIA.
I don't know if I thought I was like in the NFL, like it was a bye week or something, but the days go by, snap of a finger, and a couple listeners reached out and they shared their disappointment that they didn't get their weekly episodes. So I think 4 of the 7 listeners we have reached out and said, "Hey, what's going on?" So I completely dropped the ball.
Cory, were you in a coma? Where were you? What was happening?
I can't. Well, we had our top 5 markets. That we like for next year.
Yeah. You thought that was a mic drop episode for you.
Yeah.
You walked off into the horizon.
I thought I was done. And I'll be honest with you, I was in one of those 5 markets looking at property.
Oh, okay.
So
So you're taking your own advice.
We're putting our money where our mouth. Well, I'm putting my money where I'm putting my mouth where your money's going.
Right.
So I was in one of those markets and we were looking at a building and it checked all the boxes. So we're under contract there. We're very happy about that. But that's unfortunately where I was when I should have been sitting here recording.
Where will you spill the beans? Which no, just one of the 5. You were in one of the 5.
We're in one of the 5. We were in one of the 5 markets. We liked it. So we've got it under contract. You're coming in on it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be a partner on the building.
Okay.
So I'm putting your money where my mouth is.
Well, now I know where it is.
Now you know where it is. So we're going there. So I dropped the ball, so I have to apologize.
Well, that's I was wondering what was going to happen last week. We were all biting our nails. What episode are we going to put out? But this week makes up for it. We have Steve Jedreicich. We have Andy Tam. Steve is the Senior VP of Development at Keltic Canada Development, and Andy is the Senior VP of Business Development. Yep. These guys are awesome. And we just had a great chat with them about what the biggest commercial purchase of the year, I think?
Yeah, so I think $300 million, 27
NBD.
acres in there. And like we talked about a little bit on the show, you were the backup offer in place. Right? You were the backup
for $150,
which is my life slightly behind them.
Yeah.
Amazing development. You mean they bought it in Richmond. We'll dive into that in the episode. But you mean a lot of press has happened with this transaction. It's the biggest one that I'm aware of for this year, right at the end of 2021. So we're very fortunate to have them on here. And they go into not only that, but also some other amazing projects that Keltic's working on.
Yeah, and it's exciting to hear they discuss some of their plans. And we should say at the beginning, and Steve clarifies this in the interview, but their plans are not approved. So a lot of this is based on their intent, their hopes for the 27 acres in Richmond, right across from Richmond Oval. So this is a super exciting episode. And I get excited about stuff like this because when you think about, I think Steve actually calls it like a micro city, like they're building a micro city.
They are.
And it is going to change the feel of Richmond overall. And it's one of those things that just gets you kind of excited about the municipality, right? Yep. Like it's a game changer.
Totally. It will completely revamp that whole area. And when you have a site of that size, and he kind of goes into how the site's about 1.1 million square feet and how they're looking to add additional density to that they really have the opportunity here to completely reshape that part of Richmond. And
I've got 2.5 million square feet.
2.5 million square feet. See, this is why I shouldn't sleep during the tapings. This is why I shouldn't sleep. Oh, I was close.
We need the fact checker to come in.
I was only off by about 100%, but besides that, it was close. Yeah. But they had the opportunity to completely reshape that whole part of Richmond, and they're building a master plan community. He talks about rentals. He talks about strata. They talk about office. There's obviously going to be a retail component in this stuff. I mean, it's a great opportunity to sort of see how that part of Richmond, which doesn't maybe have as much excitement in it just yet as some of the other ones. There's a lot of developing going on. This will really round out, pardon the pun, the Oval District there.
Sure.
With this massive 27 acres coming.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. And we've been talking about Keltic just in our office. There's a lot of projects that have been coming up, and it's exciting. We talk about where they're going in the city, and these are long-term investments. So obviously, Keltic, from their origins in 2016, this is a development company that's here to stay.
Granted. Speaking of long-term,
right?
I caught your episode earlier this week, and I honestly felt kind of like I was taking the training wheels off my kid's bike and he was riding by himself for the first time.
Did you?
When you said Yellowstone is crap.
Yeah.
I was like, finally, you've come around.
Oh, man. You know what the crazy thing is that, so Yellowstone and Succession, we don't get a lot of time to watch TV. No. It's usually, one night a week or so, my wife and I will catch up on a couple shows. And Yellowstone and Succession are the same night. So we watch them in tandem.
Okay.
And usually Succession first, because that's the show that we're really excited about.
Yeah.
It is so hard to watch Yellowstone after an episode of Succession. It's like we just end up turning it off. And it's getting now to the point where I think it's almost like the first episode was written by somebody that knows how to write things. And then they were like, you take it from here. And they gave it to a guy like me. And now
well, the guy who wrote the first episode saw the writing on the wall when it was done. So he thought, I don't want my name attached to this.
It's
so
like
he passes it on.
They've got a contract to fulfill.
Yeah. So it was great to hear that you're finally there. So now are you going to be replacing that with like Selling Sunset that you always talk about? Is that going to fill the gap?
I can't do the real estate shows.
No?
I'm like, what's funny is in this episode, we asked Steve if he had a real estate book, and he's like, I can't read books about real estate because it's like me. I can't watch shows about real estate. I do this all day long. I'm not gonna. I need some downtime.
Yeah, totally.
But you're big on those shows. You're
yeah. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched the $1 Million Listing shows. I've always watched those. I'm not gonna hide the fact that I'm not gonna say I haven't watched the 4 seasons of Selling Sunset, but
you're not gonna lie about
I'm not gonna lie about
the 6 seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta.
I'll be honest with you. I'm much more of a Real Housewives of New Jersey guy.
Oh yeah,
the Real Housewives of what's the recent one that just started up? Orange County.
Orange County.
Yeah, I'm more of an Orange County, New Jersey guy. I'm not so much like the Beverly Hills or the.
Orange County. That's the LA.
It's the original.
Is it?
It's the original one.
Oh,
where it all started probably 40 years ago now. It feels like.
That's hell on
you
earth.
Say that now. You're gonna be watching it tonight. I know it's gonna happen.
I haven't. No, but you know what? You might have me with Selling Sunset, whatever that is.
There's worse shows out there. Like there was that or Tiger King.
That's what I use. That's what I use to determine what I want to watch on TV. Are there worse shows out there? And then I'll watch it. If there are. Okay, well, Cory, we of course have a sponsor this week that we should mention before we jump into this interview with Keltic Canada Development.
Always sponsored by our great friends over at Impact Commercial Group for all your commercial lending needs with over 50 years of lending experience. Give Al and his team a call over there, and you can find more about Impact Commercial at impactcommercial.ca. Fantastic.
Well, without further ado, here's this week's episode with Steve Jedreicich and Andy Tam from Keltic Canada Development, fresh off the $300 million purchase, 27 acres in Richmond. This is an exciting episode.
Do you think they could e-transfer that amount?
How does it?
How do you pay with how do you call? Do you call the law firm and says, "Hey, I'm going to be picking up a draft here for $300 million.
Yeah,
can someone pick me up an armored car?" Or do you think they're like sending it by e-transfer the password?
How does it all work? It was apparently a Bitcoin transaction. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't. All
right, guys, enjoy.
Care. Okay, so we're here with Steve Jedreicich, Senior VP for Development, and Andy Tam, Senior VP of Business Development at Keltic Canada Development. How you doing, guys?
We're doing well. Thank you. Good. Thank you.
So maybe we can start, and we'll start with Steve. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in New York, in Queens, in New York City, and I came over here in my 30s when I met the love of my life, who luckily is still my wife. And I got into the development business here, working with Polygon for several years, then Town Line and Lenny McAllister. And I've recently joined Keltic for this amazing opportunity and some others that we can't talk about right now.
Oh, wow. That's great. What was your first impression of Vancouver coming over from Queens?
I saw a lot of cranes and I thought there's a lot of opportunity here. And my my future wife, my wife now, took me to Whistler that first time I came here. And I said, this is what snow really looks like, because skiing on the East Coast is terrible. And I was super impressed by that, by nature, by the mountains, by the Stanley Park, by everything. But I also saw a city that was up and coming in 2005. And we've certainly achieved what I thought we could achieve here in Vancouver, which is, numbers that are matching Brooklyn and Queens tower numbers as far as residential values are concerned.
Right.
And that's amazing. We've achieved so much. We've increased values so much here. It's really impressive. And I think I made the right choice.
Fantastic. And Andy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I was born in Hong Kong, came here in the, mid-70s. So I've been here for a long time. Grew up in East Van, so East Van boy. Watched the amazing city grow from humble beginnings to what it is now, trying to be a global center. Used to work for multiple developers in town, ranging from a company called Highland Turnkey, which no longer exists, Pinnacle, Rise Alliance. My last position was with Asian Standard. We redeveloped the Empire Landmark Hotel, which was a revolving restaurant, Cloud9. So we had took that down piece by piece, and that took about a year and a half. And that was a very complicated project in itself.
Yeah, that was an amazing demolition.
Yes. So now it's two towers are replacing it. So that's exciting to see, and a little sad to see, not to see it through, but I'm excited to join Keltic regards to up and coming projects that they have, and the vision that the ownership here and the team here has. So it's exciting times.
That's amazing. And before we sort of dive more into, for our listeners, who Keltic is, we always like to find out what got you guys into real estate. What was the draw? How'd you guys end up in the real estate business?
Well, I have a degree in architecture, and I really thought I was just going to be an architect for the rest of my life. And then fate took me this way. In New York, I was an architect, and then I went to design build, which is like construction management but you get hired before the architect, and you help usually fairly wealthy clients build their dreams, which I really enjoyed. And when I came here, I really actually just fell into development. I didn't really look for it. Polygon just had a recruiter call me and throw me into it. And I didn't really know it was a career. And I completely absorbed it, loved it, got into it. In my life, in the day, people didn't go to school for development. People went to school for architecture or engineering, or they were owners of land. And nowadays, people have vast opportunities to go to development in school and learn about their careers. But back then, and I'm only 52, guys, but back then you kind of just fell into it, and I'm glad I did, because I really enjoyed it. I think it's the best of all the skills that and the talents that I feel I have.
And Andy?
I studied urban economics at UBC and marketing management at VCREP.
He's younger than me.
Just a couple of years. Just a couple of years only. I don't know. It's one of those things where I came out of school and real estate seemed to be the logical choice in Vancouver, with Expo 86 kind of at that time happening. I was a commercial broker for a little bit, and then the logical step next was to get into development.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm curious because we've heard of Keltic Canada Development a lot, obviously operating in the market. We've never actually had somebody from Keltic on the show before. Can you tell us a little bit about Keltic? Yeah,
sure. So we're both fairly new here. We've only come here this year, but we're full supporters of Keltic's management. They've been here. They started their first acquisition was in 2016. They've built. I think you might have a brief from Maxine. We built Coco on Cambie Corridor.
Right.
Paramount's about to close 4 towers in Richmond this month and next month. 1 office tower and 3 strata towers. And Park West in North Van is about to close in April of this year. So it's a big closing year for us in 2022 of a lot of stuff that we sold in 2019. They started here because the owner, Wei-Chu Lee, is a Chinese, very successful business person who decided that he loved Vancouver, as I did when I came here from New York, and decided to prop his family here. So his wife and his children are here, and absolutely wants to put in a huge investment in building a quality development company in Vancouver. So he's put a lot of effort and a lot of capital into this. And as you can see from the purchase we made and closed this week, we're invested in here heavily for the next couple of decades. So we're not a fly-by-night company. We're not an investment company. We like to call ourselves a 100% Canadian company because Mrs. Lee is a Canadian citizen and she's owner. So we are here for the long term, and that's why they bulked up and if you want to call hockey terms, raise the salary cap and increase staff significantly to invest in these projects.
Let's talk about that. I mean, obviously there was a very substantial purchase that has now become public knowledge, and maybe we can dive into that a little bit. So recently, you guys have acquired about 27 acres in Richmond at a rumored price of $300 million.
Well, it's not rumored. It's in the press.
It's in the press. Yeah.
Well, I said rumored because Adam had the backup offer here behind you guys, but I guess now it's all closed.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 156 to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So let's go into that. Obviously, this is a substantial purchase, probably the biggest one this year, if not the biggest one this year. Can we talk a little bit about, how did this transaction come about? Because that's one thing all of our listeners, we don't have to divulge all the secrets, but a lot of the listeners, they're always so curious how these massive transactions come about. Where did this start? How far back do we go when that call came in that, hey, we have a piece of land here we want almost $350 million for?
So around March or April of this year, we were approached by a broker who said that this area, this land parcel could be available for sale for the right price. As you know, because it is public, the Quadrille owned it. This was the Brighouse West Business Park, I believe is the name of it right now.
Yeah.
They approached us and said, would you like to do this? And we looked at it very carefully, looked at the potential of changing the OCP and rezoning it to a multi-use strata residential, rental, commercial space. We felt with confidence that would happen. We also looked at it as an industrial play, and it actually made sense that way as well, to rebuild as an industrial play. That's not what we want, but I want to say right up front that the city hasn't really been involved with us at all. We've spoken to them very briefly, so everything we say today is our intent for the site. Nothing is guaranteed, of course, so I don't want to get ahead of myself and start talking to you about towers and numbers of units and say that it's approved, because it's definitely not approved yet. This is our hopes and our wishes for the site.
Right.
The broker came to us and made a play, put together some terms. We paid a bit more than I think is the standard, but we felt we were committed to the community. We're finishing Paramount right now in Richmond on Free Road, and we love Richmond, and we thought this was a way to really put Keltic on the map.
Fantastic. And my understanding, Steve, is that I actually have been following the press about this to some extent, and it sounds like the deal fell apart a few times. Is that correct?
I think we had issues in the past. I can't speak to that because I wasn't here at the time, but I think there were a couple of times where we stumbled and had some problems. I remember that it was mentioned that insurance was a problem because of the floodplain, the water table level in Richmond after the floods out east in last month. That was one of the last issues. And there were a couple of other issues, but yeah, I think our finance and acquisitions team did a phenomenal job of making sure the deal continued to go through.
A deal this size is, if there's going to be ups and downs in regards to negotiations and things that pop up.
I mean, 27 acres sounds like a lot, but I like to put it another way: 1.1 million square feet of land. I mean, that's a huge amount of land. And if we can get what we're asking for, we're looking at 2 to 2.5 million square feet of density.
Wow.
So we're creating a city. I wouldn't even call it a village. We're creating a micro city here in Richmond.
And then for a site of this size, and obviously it's probably something like you said, a small city, a master plan type play on this. Is this a decade-long phased project? Are you guys sort of signing up here that you're going to be still building or selling product come 2030, 2035?
Yeah, and that's when I'll retire, when the last unit's sold. Hopefully I'll get a big bonus at the end of it.
So in just thinking about the plans for this site, and we know that this is more based on intent than what's currently approved, what is Keltic's intent for the site?
Well, we're looking at multiple uses on this site, ranging from residential, mixed use, rental, low-income rental, commercial, potentially some industrial. So it's a broad base regards to supplying the needs of people in Richmond and the Lower Mainland. So I think it's a strategically located site. It's very central to the airport, to Vancouver and other municipalities around us. I think it'd be exciting that we are creating something from scratch, basically a small little city. Normally we get involved, we do point towers or a couple of towers here and there, but to integrate all these uses into a plan is very exciting, and especially the 6.3 acre park that we're going to be giving back to the city.
Wow. Sites of this obviously have a lot of challenges ahead of them. I know it's very early on in the process here, but what challenges you guys sort of foresee ahead for Keltic and getting a site from what it is today to where you envision this site over the next decade?
I don't see challenges. I see commitment on all sides between the city and ourselves and the public to see something here where there's really just a very boring warehouse district, right?
Yeah.
It's very uninteresting. It's what Richmond used to be. We're going to create what Richmond will be. And I think everyone's excited to create an oval village is what the OCP calls it. So it's not just the oval itself, the Richmond Oval, which is across the street from us. It's not the park we're just dedicating. It's not the other projects that have gone forward and created some great retail and great strata. We've got the biggest parcel that has ever been assembled in Oval Village. And we want to create something that really contributes to it and makes it a destination. So it's not just where people live and have a walkability score of 100%, because we'll have everything there between retail and office, medical, dental, coffee shops, dim sum, everything. We wanted a destination where other people in Richmond and throughout Metro Vancouver want to come.
When you guys are envisioning this, is there any inspiration you draw from other communities? Say, we'll just throw Yaletown out there as an example. Is there other communities or other subsections of cities that you guys look at for inspiration when designing this?
Well, I think Richmond is a very diverse city with people from all over the world. People have been to different cities and like certain things that they want to be available here too. And I think we're lacking some of it. We want to be able to bring different uses, different experiences, entertainment, restaurants, all those things into this really unique site. And we're excited about that. That's going to drive a lot of the design and people occupying the space.
Yeah, we're so super excited about this. We have all kinds of crazy ideas we haven't even talked to the city about. We've even talked about like having a night market relocate here, or a farmer's market, for instance, in the park. That's so far away, but we're so excited about this. And we've been interviewing international architects from all over the world to come in and help us design this thing. I don't want to mention any names, but we've interviewed 5 or 6 different international architects from all over the world.
Wow.
And some of them may be helping us with planning and the master plan, and others may be helping us with individual buildings.
That's super exciting. What about Richmond is, and we talked a little bit about why you're excited about Richmond, but obviously this is a very special parcel of land, and the size is special in its own right. But what about Richmond is so exciting, and where do you see the future of Richmond? And which direction do you see it heading?
Well, Richmond is so close to other cities around us. Vancouver is just a hop, skip, up, and way over the Oak Street Bridge. A lot of people from Vancouver go to Richmond for entertainment, dining, visiting friends. And I think that's it serves not just Richmond, but other cities so close. Burnaby, I think a lot of people come from there to also Richmond to meet up and enjoy. So I think we're creating a place, a destination for not just Richmond people, but the whole lower mainland.
I personally have a big love of Richmond. When I started here in Canada, and when I started with Polygon, I did a great majority of their Richmond work. I bought a suite within one of our buildings that we built, and it was fun. For like 2 weeks, my wife and I lived there until we rented it out at the end of the month, and I really got to know Richmond well, like on a nighttime basis, not just on a daytime basis. And I know the people at the staff and mayor and council very well, and I think they're wonderful. And I'm really excited to get back into Richmond. I haven't done a project in Richmond for a few years, and I'm really, really excited to connect with my friends at City Hall again.
Obviously, guys, with a project of this scale, and that you obviously have to be very, very bullish on the market, and there's been a lot of ups and downs over the past couple of years here. Where do you guys kind of think this thing goes in the future? We obviously have things like inflation that are coming in and raising interest rates, and although that's shorter term stuff than what you're dealing with, but what do you guys sort of envision this market sort of transitioning to over the next decade?
We always have a crystal ball question, and this is it. So
yeah, we get our pens ready, and we take you guys down word for word, and we're going to hold you to it.
I feel like asking you first, where do you think it's going to go? And then we tell you where we think it's going to go.
If I said anywhere else but Richmond right now is the market to buy, and I think I'd be misleading everyone when the transaction of that size has taken place.
Well, again, as Steve said, this is going to be a multi-year project. And timing is going to be very important in regards to how we release and what we release in the next few years. It's going to take a few years to even get to the approval stage. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. Barring COVID, hopefully we'll get back to immigration as we had before COVID, in regards to about 30 to 40,000 people moving to the Lower Mainland every year. That's net migration. So people have to live somewhere. And, Richmond is a very nice destination that people like to live in. And I think that's going to drive a lot of growth. And we're excited that this is another place where people can call home.
Yeah, and Richmond is, it's not without its challenges. I remember several years ago, I was launching a site in Richmond, and there was a plane crash the day before. And suddenly there was great concern about the airport being so close. And obviously with the flood catastrophes in the prairies there, obviously people think of Richmond and Delta as areas that could be in the same situation. Luckily they weren't. So we know there's challenges in Richmond. And obviously with the flight path, we are limited in height. And with the water table, we are limited in depth of our parkades. But knowing all that, I feel confident that what we've purchased here can work. And like I said, I have a lot of Richmond experience, and I know what we need to do here. And it's looking pretty good. We can't show you what we have in front of us, but it's looking pretty good.
Super exciting. And it's exciting, the amount of homes that, assuming everything works out in your favor, the amount of inventory that will be coming to a market where there's just so little inventory right now. And obviously so many homes needed. In thinking about Keltic, just generally speaking, I mean, you guys have projects in the Canby corridor. We talked a little bit about Park West and North Vancouver. What's next for Keltic?
Well, I just want to go back to that about the housing. We're really, really excited because we're doing strata and rental, low-end rental, possibly seniors housing, but also we're doing concrete and wood frame. That's our intention here. So the levels of affordability are across the map. We have, very more affordable wood frame on Westminster that's transitioning down to the single-family homes across the street, and concrete on the more of the riverside, getting higher and getting some views. So we hope that we can basically attract all kinds of buyers and all kinds of residents here to enjoy the community and the retail and the park and the oval across the street. That's our intention. It's really our honest intention to do that.
That's fantastic. So my feeling is that Keltic has this is going to be a massive kind of all-consuming project in front of Keltic. But are there other plans that you guys want to talk about, or?
Yeah, there's some we can't talk about yet, but we will later in 2022. And they're not as large as this one, but there are some significant parcels that we've purchased, and we're going forward in industrial and warehouse and office and residential. Really exciting in Ladner and in Vancouver. And we're open to others every week. We have acquisitions meetings to discuss where else we're going to go. But the next one, the big one that we're going to talk about is O2. O2 is a Metrotown tower that's going on on Sussex near Kingsway. And we hope to launch by March of next year.
And that will be sales then?
That will be strata residential of 234 units with a small rental parcel of 54 units, I believe. And we hope to sell that off or coordinate it off to BC Housing.
Okay.
Sounds like a follow-up show if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. It's existing rental. So we're taking care of the tenants. We're relocating them. We're spending the time and the effort to relocate them, find them places to live for the next 2.5 years, and then bring them back into the building if they wish to.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to tell us about the project. Can we have this segment called the Six Pack? Can you guys stick around for that? It doesn't involve drinking. It's
we ask all of our guests.
You ship over a 6-pack. I don't see it delivered.
No, yeah, we send that after the show. So we have a 6-pack of questions, 6 lighthearted questions that we ask everyone, so we kind of get to know you a little bit outside of the office. And our 6-pack is powered by Red Point Law. For all your commercial legal needs, visit them at redpointlaw.ca. All right, so we're going to turn this into the 12-pack because we've got 6 questions, 1 for each of you. First question up. Favorite bar or restaurant?
Oh,
Robra di Mato in the West End. I absolutely love that place.
Oh, that's a good one. We haven't had that on the show before.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden, right?
It's beautiful. It's like a park setting. It's wonderful.
So regarding
Andy?
the restaurant, I love this little place called Octopus Garden
Yeah, on York.
on Cornwall.
Cornwall.
Little place that's been there for eons, and it's a tiny restaurant, but the freshest sushi you can ever get.
Interesting. We'll have to put that on our list for the holiday season.
That's a gift card for me.
That's a free tip, guys. That's a free tip.
A book you'd recommend to our listeners, and doesn't necessarily have to be a real estate book.
Book.
Oh wow. Well, I don't really read about real estate. I read about it on all the daily announcements that come up from MLA, from Vancouver Market, from all urban YVR and Daily Hive. But a book I will just recommend I read recently is by Jeff Tweedy, his biography. Jeff Tweedy is the singer and songwriter from Wilco. I'm a musician as well, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it a lot more than I thought I would.
Funny, we've had Wilco as people's favorite band on this program a number of times, so I'm sure a lot of people will be. Yeah, it's interesting.
And so many people don't know who they are at all.
I feel like the audience is split in the real estate community between indie rock and hip hop.
Not hip hop.
A lot of rap.
A lot of gangster rap. A lot of 90s gangster rap on the show.
It's almost an even split, but yeah, Wilco has come up.
It's the book is called Let's Go So We Can Get Back, a memoir of recording and discording with Wilco, etc. But it's a really good book. He went through drug problems and psychological problems, and he's worked his way out of it. And I thought it was really interesting. And I love his music.
That's funny. Jesus, etc. was my wedding song, actually. Small World.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
What about you, Andy? Favorite book?
You know, this sounds really weird, but The Art of War is something I've kind of reread again a little bit last little while. I don't have a lot of time to read between work and playing hockey and things like that, but it's one of those things that I have and I just picked up and just start reading it again. So I guess that we can call that my favorite book.
You mentioned playing hockey there. Are you pretty active in the hockey world?
I do. I coach my son's hockey team, and assistant coach, I should say, with the Thunderbirds. Played some international hockey for fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm too old now.
and I don't know how to even skate. They don't have a lot of ice rinks in New York City.
I was going to say, yeah, the real estate's too expensive for ice.
Yeah.
That's
better uses over there.
Yeah.
Favorite vacation spot?
You got one, Andy?
I do. Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, amazing.
That's a great one.
The scenery there, the people there, the food there. You go there and you're in a different world for a little bit, and especially if you go to the coast where these little resorts that haven't really been touched by Western society, and it's quite nice.
Yeah, I'd love to go there someday. My wife's favorite place is Venice, so I'm going to say Venice. It is magical. It is just mysterious and magical and wonderful, and you get lost in it so easily. But my real answer is anywhere. Like, I love to travel, and COVID's really cut me off at the knees. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, it sucks.
I just love going everywhere.
Especially these days, I'm kind of it's funny. I'm even sick of just BC. I mean, BC is such a beautiful province, but I can't do any more Sunshine Coast trips here.
Yeah, how many times can you go to Whistler and Victoria and the Okanagan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But Adam, the Poco Inn and Suites isn't doing it for you on the weekends anymore. No.
Tofino's making tons of money over the last year and a half. That's for sure.
Right. And question number 4: favorite movie?
That's easy. Goodfellas.
Nice.
It was filmed in my neighborhood for the most part. Martin Scorsese, probably his best.
Oh, amazing.
Great movie.
And I'm going to say I grew up with some people like those people. Let's just put it that way.
I was waiting for the follow-up comment. That's why I was quiet there.
I won't say any more.
I know where to find you now.
They can't find me here.
Yeah. This was a relocation of sorts.
Witness protection plan.
Exactly.
You can't hang with that last name, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like the only one in the world with his last name.
And Andy?
How about you, Andy?
You know, I grew up in the 80s, so Top Gun is always something that I cannot stop watching.
Top Gun 2 is coming out soon.
I know, I'm waiting for that. But Top Gun was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. Just so cool.
That's
So,
great.
Steve, I think you kind of already answered this one for us, but favorite band?
Oh, well, I don't know if Wilco's my favorite band. I got to say that I think my favorite artist it's quite different, but it's really between Bruce Springsteen, Prince, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Like, I'm a musician, so I loved growing up. I'm a guitar player. Stevie Ray Vaughan just hit me hard as soon as I met him or saw him, and that guitar playing really influenced me. Prince, as a guitarist, as a songwriter, as a singer, as a performer, is just amazing. And Bruce Springsteen as just someone who brings people together, and it's almost like church when you go see him. So I don't know which one of those three is the best for me, but all three of them I'm completely embraced. And Wilco is fantastic as well. I've seen them several times, and I love Jeff Tweedy as well. But I got to say, my holy trinity is Stevie Ray Vaughan, Prince, and Bruce Springsteen.
Wow.
I had a chance to see Bruce Springsteen probably, I want to say maybe 15 years ago. It was at Pacific Coliseum of all places. And
how many years ago?
I want to say it was like 15 years ago.
Okay, I think I went to see them at P&E when I got here about 13 years ago.
Yeah, so it's probably the same one. So I ended up going with a friend of mine who was a big Bruce Springsteen fan. Growing up, my parents listened to it. So I was, let's go try it out. I don't think to this day I've seen a concert with so much energy, both from the artist and the crowd he was playing off of. Like he did not stop. I was tired and I'm sitting down watching him
it was like
for
a
3 hours.
4 hour concert.
Yeah, exactly. He just kept going and going. And the energy level from start to finish, it's one of the best concerts I've ever seen.
Yeah, we might have been at the same concert. My wife didn't want to go. I went by myself.
Wow, that's dedication.
And I ended up sitting. Well, first of all, if you're in New York, you can't get a Bruce Springsteen ticket. When he comes to town, if he's playing Giant Stadium or Madison Square Garden for 10 nights in a row, they get sold out in like 5 seconds. Here,
wow.
It doesn't sell out as fast, right? Because it's not the same. He's from Jersey, so it's going to be a big deal in New York and New Jersey.
Right.
But yeah, here I was able to get a ticket, and I ended up sitting next to people that were from New Jersey, and it was phenomenal. Like, I just started chatting with them through the concert, and we all just loved it. And I went home just thinking like, oh man, it's a great connection to the East Coast again.
Oh, that's awesome. And Andy?
Again, grew up in the 80s. You guys sound funny.
The Eurythmics.
Yeah, I can't wait for this.
Pet Shop Boys. They throw a great concert too.
They were awesome. I still love their music on my iPod and whatever, or my iPhone. U2 is another band I like to listen to once in a while.
Yeah.
We've had U2 on the show. Yeah, that's great. We've had that one a lot.
That's Ryan Beatty's favorite band.
Yeah. Actually, I can't remember if it was Ryan Beatty or somebody big in the. We've had that like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, Ryan Beatty, I don't think returns our phone calls. So
Yeah,
he was on
Ryan,
the show.
Definitely a huge U2 fan. I'm trying to get him to invite me to his summer concerts, but I'm not getting a call back.
Yeah, didn't they recently have? I heard it wasn't the Killers like a surprise guest at their recent.
Yeah, I believe it was Killers, Billy Idol, and Metric, or was Metric last year? But they pulled it off. They did the whole thing with whatever 300, 400 people or more than that, and I heard they pulled it off well. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. And the last question is one piece of advice for our listeners. This can be real estate related.
Yeah,
or
for sure. People who are, say, looking to enter the real estate industry, maybe as an investor or something like that. What's one piece of advice you guys can give them?
I've always said this to all my friends, just get in now.
Yeah.
If you get in now, you have a piece of property. And, a lot of times it's your home. And I think it's important just to get into market now and worry about it later.
My advice in life and in work is just don't give up. Don't give up. Always look for another opportunity, another alternate solution to what you're doing. And to the young people out there, fake it till you can make it.
That's a great one. And don't give up. That's Andy with your 80s movies. That's the theme of almost every 80s movie. So that should have been yours, I think.
I think it's a Kate Bush song, if I'm not mistaken. A Gabriel song with Kate Bush.
Yeah. I think you're right. Okay, well, that's fantastic. So how can people find out more about what you guys are up to and, of course, what's happening with Keltic Canada Development?
Well, we're constantly updating our websites and our social feeds. So, please follow us there.
At CelticDevelopment.com. And we also have a LinkedIn and Facebook locations, but obviously our public relations consultant did a very good job of putting out this announcement for the 27 acres. Our Paramount project will be finished in January. We're going to have an unveiling in February with our mayor and council and various stakeholders. We have a beautiful piece of public art that we're going to be dropping there. So hopefully that'll get covered as well. And then Park West in the North Shore will be finished in April, May. And we're very excited about that as well. And then off we go. We've got a medical strata office project on Prior Street called Nexus. And that's about to start excavation next month as well. But obviously we have this major project in Richmond and a few others that we'll have to talk about next year with you. But we're geared to go, man. We're ready.
I drive by Nexus almost every day. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful commercial building there on Prior.
You know what? Like St. Paul's isn't going to be there for 5 years, but you wouldn't believe the amount of interest already because it's guaranteed, right? The hospital is definitely going there. So why wouldn't you want a medical office right next to the hospital? The interest is insane.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, it was a smart play on your guys' part to put the strata office right there, and obviously who you're marketing it to. We've heard a lot of good things about it.
Right. Yeah, and that's right next door. I think Strand has a building right next door, right?
Yeah, we don't have to talk about them though.
Mike was a prior guest, so we got to kind of share everything as much as we can. But guys, thank you so much for taking your time and coming on today and telling us all about the project. We look forward to having you guys on again in the future.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back to talk about future projects for sure.
Tell us some more stuff all the good stuff you guys have going on.
Oh, this was fun. Max told us this would be very loose and easy, and you guys are very, amicable, and certainly that was the case. So we thank you for that. We had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to both of you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much, guys, for your time today. We really appreciate it. Take care. And there you have it, folks. Our interview with Keltic Canada Investments. I'll just finish off the year with phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a good, and loved having those guys on the show. Really fun guys to talk to.
Good guys.
Yeah, and man, the six pack goes along when you've got two people, right? But that was pretty much the six pack with a little bit about Keltic Canada.
Yeah, more or less.
But no, that was phenomenal having Steve and Andy on the show. Cory, I gotta say, because I listen to the Vancouver Commercial Real Estate Podcast because I'm newer to the commercial real estate market, in the sense that I am devouring everything I can. A lot of it comes from your show and the guests that you bring on. Last episode, you had Rod from your office, who was basically interviewing you about the top 5 markets in BC. I got to say, that was a great show. I learned a lot. One of the things I noticed, though, is that Vancouver did not make the cut.
Well, kind of like we preferenced on the show is just because the city wasn't on there doesn't mean it's not a great investment opportunity.
Right.
We just felt the ones that we picked have maybe a little bit better, maybe in the short term to medium term for investors. And by that, I mean, if you buy in Vancouver today, there's really high lease rates in Vancouver. There's really low cap rates in Vancouver. The properties are harder to debt service versus if you bought in Vancouver, say 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So the markets that we picked, like Kamloops and Maple Ridge and Chilliwack, Victoria, and Kelowna, is we feel that there's a little bit more of a runway ahead of it. If you get in now, that you'll look back on it 2 or 3 years, and those cap rates will probably come down. Rents are going to go up. You'll look like the smartest guy in the room type of approach. So not that Vancouver is not a great investment opportunity, or Surrey, or any of those markets that are bustling. We just feel that these other ones have a little bit more upside because the markets just haven't sort of formally established themselves just yet, versus say some of the market like Vancouver, which is an international city now.
It makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like Victoria ranked number 1 on the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Victoria was our number 1 market. I think coming out of the pandemic too, the number 1 tenant in Victoria is government. You got tech coming up over there. You got so many things working in its favor. And when you're in Victoria, it feels like a city.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a market that is trying to be a city. It's a city. It's smaller than Vancouver, and I think there's still a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of development going on. I just don't think Victoria's really hit its stride just yet from an investment standpoint, that there's still a good opportunity where you're getting in now. There's a lot. It's been de-risked to some degree because more and more institutions and funds and all that stuff have been buying in the market there. There's definitely that reassurance if you're looking for it going in, but I think you've got a great next 5 or 10 years ahead of you in Victoria. So that's the number one place that I would be putting my money in the short term to get in. And obviously we've put a lot of investment in that marketplace,
right?
That we really believe in it. So that's our number one market again this year.
Fantastic. And Cory, what's happening with commercial right now? Obviously, we're a few weeks out now for Christmas. I think we're about, I want to say 12 days, 12 days till Christmas, but we're in that window.
Yep.
Are you guys slowing down? Is the market going to take a breath over the holidays?
Heading into December here, we just didn't know. But I think right now we've got a lot of things out there. We've got the threat of rising interest rates.
Yep.
We've got zero supply to pick from. We've got inflation on the rise that we have been, it feels like December has just felt like March traditionally was, where it's just been extremely busy. I think going into 2022, the threat of interest rates rising, you're going to see a lot of people start trying to get capital off the side into assets. Inflation is a big challenge we have ahead of us. One of the best ways to protect against inflation is if I got 100,000 sitting in the bank and inflation's 5%, arguably my 100,000 is now worth 95 because it doesn't go as far. But if I take the 100,000, I invest it in an asset, a lot of times you see it's real estate, that if that can go higher than inflation, I win that battle all day long.
Right.
So I think you have a lot of investors that are going to try to get capital deployed in Q1, Q2 with inflation rising to get it into hard assets that they can protect against it. Also with interest rates rising, they want to try to lock in as long as the smallest interest rate they can. I think it's going to be just a firestorm of activity for the next,
at least Q1, right?
Q1, Q2, Q3, we'll see where it plays out. I don't think inflation is going to curb itself by then. So I think it's going to be just a madhouse next year. And the sooner you get in, the better.
It seems to be the consensus now. People, I read every publication in Canada that talks about real estate, but there seems to be a consensus now about at least the first half of the year, the market's just going to be business as usual. Well, crazy. It's just waiting on inventory. Really.
Well, this is why I skipped last week's episode.
Yeah, you were.
Right? I was like, if I don't go there,
trying
and look
to
at
get
this
your
building
money
now,
off of the sidelines.
If I don't go look at this building now, it's not going to be
mattress.
here come Tuesday. So I have to go. And I think a good indication too is when you look at other markets, like even smaller markets, like Nanaimo, for example, that we talked about, is that's a market that's had extremely large purchase prices attached to it. Recently, there was a building listed for $6 million. I know one of our brokers had an offer in on it just below the asking price, which you think that's a big number for Nanaimo, and there was 4 offers on it.
Is that multifamily?
No, this is an office building.
Office building
with vacancy. So that's a sign of the times. And that's, I think, going to continue for the next, at least 6 months, if not longer with it. So the longer you wait to get in, the more I think you're going to pay not only for the asset, but the more I think you're going to pay in interest. So get in now.
Well, we'll leave it there. But Cory, how can people find out more about William Wright Commercial and what you guys are up to?
People can reach us anytime at our Vancouver office, 604-428-5255. They can always look us up on the website at williamwright.ca, or they can send me an email anytime at cory@williamwright.ca. A lot of exciting stuff going on right now and into next year. So, make sure you sign up on our website for the latest and greatest news, and we'll make sure we keep you in the loop.
Excellent. Well, happy holidays, everyone. And we'll see you back here, not next week, but in early January.
Early January. So I think this is our last episode until the second week of January.
Back to the MIA mode.
I'm going to go find some more buildings to keep myself occupied.
Excellent. Have a good couple weeks, guys.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Subscribe today.